of the Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition. Good evening, all. I'm Shashina Roll. As always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping the news tonight, the Minister for Grand Bahama refuting all claims of Ebola disease on Grand Bahama. The minister was referring to claims appearing on social media and is calling on the Bahamas to cease and desist from causing harm. Now, we are working on that story for you. We will get back to that in just a moment. But first, Grand Bahama's airline industry to take off this weekend with the arrival of new airlift from the Canadian market. As Natalie Martinborough tells us, tourism leaders are calling on Bahamians to do their part to ensure the success of that program.
Earlier this year, WestJet pulled out of Grand Bahama, closing the door to the Canadian market. But tourism officials were determined to work out all of the kinks, and they are expected to welcome flights from Canada once again come November 1st. The service will include airlift from 8 Canadian cities. The newest gateways are Calgary and Vancouver.
What's special about that also is that this is the first time to the Bahamas, period, that we will get guests from those cities, and they're coming here to Grand Bahama Island. So we're preparing for that business. We're very excited about it, and we now know we've worked out all of the kinks. Last year, the start had a few challenges that we've all overcome. So now we are ready and prepared and eager to receive the Canadian business.
General Manager Betty Bethel says growing pains with the new Memories Resort was one of the issues that affected the Canadian flights. She says they have been able to address all of the issues, and ratings in the Canadian market should begin to climb again.
And as guests use new facilities and you find the deficiencies, then you can address them and permanently, and and make it improve the whole resort experience. But they were primarily related to the fact that they were newly opened. And again, there are some things that you don't know as a problem until guests start to engage and sleep in those beds. So they were standard for any property opening for the first time.
With the additional flights now on the way, Bethel believes the task ahead is for more Bahamians to come up with fun activities to cater to visitors, to give them that Grand Bahama experience.
And because this time around, it's not going to be 150 seats from each city, it's going to be 189 seats. And coming out of Canada, as well as when the service begins out of the United States. So we'll be getting a whole lot more guests, and we do need to look for more new, different activities, but that are indigenous of Grand Bahama, because we want them to walk away with that unique Grand Bahama, that grand life experience.
Natalie Martinborough, ZNS Network News.
Well, the Minister of Tourism, Obi Wilshcombe, and Director of the Grand Bahama Tourist Office, Betty Bethel, making the announcement of the new Canada flights during a special luncheon for the Canadian press in Vancouver yesterday. It has been more than 30 years since Grand Bahama welcomed a direct flight from Vancouver. The leisure tour operator responsible for Sunwing Airlines, as well as Memories, Grand Bahama Beach and Casino Resort, are spearheading the flights. Now, officials say Sunwing Vacations has played a major role in the revitalization of Grand Bahama, and additional growth is expected with the 2 new flights. Now, 25,000 new visitors have arrived to the island because of the Sunwing partnership, and Grand Bahama is projected to see an increase in air arrivals of up to 35% with direct flights from additional 2 cities. And back to our top story, there is no reported Ebola. There are no cases of Ebola reported in Grand Bahama. We'll get back to that story. Continuing in the news, the fastest growing resort in the Bahamas will soon begin the selection process for persons to work during the construction phase of its mega hotel resort on the island of Bimini. A 2-day job fair held at the Department of Labor in Freeport, exceeding resort officials' expectations. John Davis Roll reports.
Officials say Grand Bahama's slow economy has pushed residents to respond in impressive numbers to the 2-day job fair hosted by Grand Bahamas Resorts at Bimini at the Department of Labor.
We've had an excellent turnout here in Grand Bahama. I think Grand Bahamas has fulfilled its mission and mandate here. Yesterday we had about 100 persons showed up, and today we have about 50 persons so far, and the day has not even ended yet. So I think that the people here in Grand Bahama are hungry, and they definitely want work.
Conducting interviews as Resort Bimini official Guido Rowe He says the search is for the best of the best, and judging from the level of skilled workers on Grand Bahama, they will have a good pool of well-qualified and trained persons to choose from.
Some great applicants from skilled carpenters to skilled electricians. We've had some great persons showed up with security. We had persons showed up masonry. Bahamas is committed to continually developing there on the island of Bimini, and if there's more development, that means there will always be continued work. So as our projects are completed, then we have persons that are not just in the construction side that are going to have work, but we have persons who are in the tourism side, persons who are in maintenance, persons who are just in various range of professions that can have jobs on the island of Bimini. So we're looking at longevity here.
Applicant Colin Sweeting is optimistic, while Bradley Forbes hopes his skills in the construction field and his ability to speak a second language, German, will give him the edge he needs to land a new job with the fastest growing resort in the country. What job are you applying for?
In the masonry field or the hanging of the drywall, anything within the construction arena, I can adapt to it. I can handle it. It's more than 4 years, and at the end of the day, just some work, something to do, something to be able to take care of my family, my kids. You know, I'm looking for more than that. I wouldn't mind.
What about relocating, having to relocate?
Well, that's a sacrifice my grandparents did when they had to go on the contract, so it ain't nothing new to me. That's a part of it. That's what you have to do. But there's nothing here to do, right? What else can I do? Relocate.
Guten Morgen.
And that means?
Good morning. Guten Abend. Good evening. Da nehmen, first name. Da nachnehmen, last name. Ja, yes.
Joan Davis Roll, ZNS Network News.
Well, police on Grand Bahama investigating an incident involving the robbery of a woman in the Freeport area. According to police reports, shortly after 8 yesterday morning, police received a call that a woman while on Polaris Drive in Darville Beach, Freeport, was approached by a male who pushed her to the ground and snatched a deposit bag containing cash. Now, the culprit is described as 5 feet 11 inches tall, dark brown complexion, slim built, and wearing a white shirt, maroon pants, black shoes, and white towel around his face. Anyone with any information regarding this robbery with violence is asked to contact the police at 350-3107 through 911-919 or call your nearest police station. Stay with us. There is more news right after this.
Bringing news that matters to you. You're watching the Bahamas Tonight Northern Edition.
Welcome back, and now back to our top story. The minister for Grand Bahama refuting all claims of Ebola disease on this island. The minister was referring to claims appearing on social media, and he is calling on Bahamians to cease and desist from causing harm to the country and unnecessary panic.
I would like to say that there is no Ebola cases in the Bahamas, and there is none on the island of Grand Bahama. There was never any.
As claims circulate the internet through social media of an Ebola scare on Grand Bahama Island, the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Dr. Michael Darville, is making it clear that these reports are untrue.
Rumors are incorrect, and I would like to let the residents of Grand Bahama know that a protocol is already in place, led by the Ministry of Health, with the Chief Medical Officer here on the island of Grand Bahama responsible for that team. As you are aware, the government of the Bahamas has put together an Ebola task force which incorporate all of the professionals in the health sector, as well as Customs, Immigration, the Royal Bahamas Police Force, the Defense Force, and our partners here on the island of Grand Bahama.
There are two ports of entry, the airport and the harbor. The minister says should a case arise, these ports of entry as well as government agencies are fully prepared, adding that the proper protocols are in place.
At no particular time will any vessels be allowed to come into Grand Bahama unless the protocols have been met. So it's important that the residents understand that the government is taking this whole threat of Ebola very seriously, and we have a very, very organized, solid Ebola task force in place with supervision from the Pan American Health Organization and the World Health Organization.
One claim posted on a website went so far as to say that the airport on Grand Bahama had to be shut down and a so-called special doctor force detained the patient, who was then transported to the nation's capital. The minister of Grand Bahama says persons who are creating and circulating these rumors are doing harm not just to the country's tourism sector, but are also creating an unnecessary alarm amongst residents.
It is a very serious thing when people without factual information will go on social media and speak about cases of Ebola in the Bahamas, and particularly in Grand Bahama. We find that very, very, very dangerous to our tourism sector. And I would like to let the general public know that we have also put on our task force individuals who specialize in cyber misinformation, who will be addressing this information as it relates to social media and information that is incorrect about Ebola. I would like to say that there is no Ebola.
Dr. Darville is sending this warning to those responsible for these types of rumors of Ebola in the Bahamas.
It is now in the hands of the Royal Bahamas Police Force Investigative Group. I would like to just let those individuals know who are putting false information out on social media that it is very detrimental to the image of our country, is detrimental to our tourism industry, and what it has done is creating a false perception that can definitely affect our economy in a negative way. And so we're taking it very seriously.
Well, in the meantime, the Public Hospitals Authority has launched an Ebola training workshop for the staff of the National Emergency Medical Services on Grand Bahama. The one-day seminar, which was led by a physician out of Coral Springs, Florida, will focus on prevention, transmission, containment, and other aspects of the disease. Megan Shepard was there.
President of the Emergency Educational Institute out of Florida, Dr. Todd Sard, conducting an educational seminar with EMS and Rand Memorial Hospital staff members. The goal is to enhance guidelines already in place here on the island and to share additional practices when it comes to infectious control.
Going over a lot of the aspects of the precautions and guidelines that also has been set forth by your local PHA, but also a lot of the recommendations that we have and also for the CDC and so forth too. Not representing the CDC, but again, we kind of go by their guidelines, including how to really observe and note what the patient may be going through and what they're doing, and then taking those precautions on how to properly dress and in order to handle the patient.
Dr. Sword says that medical staff should be on the lookout for certain symptoms and explains the steps that should be taken if Ebola is suspected.
A lot of it would be almost like flu-like symptoms. If the patient is experiencing any type of high fever, if they've been sweating and really not feeling well, almost like flu-like symptoms. Immediately the person needs to go to a medical clinic or into the hospital and again go in for testing, and the precautions might need to be taken at that point in time then as to how the patient will be dealt with, either in isolation or being allowed to handle the general population.
Now, Dr. Sword says he believes that in the event an Ebola patient is to be admitted to Grand Bahama, the Rand Memorial Hospital is prepared to handle the situation.
I think you're pretty well prepared. The guidelines have been set forth that were given to me before. Again, this is an enhancement to what the government has already set forth, so I applaud you on doing that. As with any country, they all are doing about the same. If an individual is showing the signs and symptoms of Ebola, then again the precautions would need to be taken. So again, it's kind of a situation of evaluating and looking at the principle of what the person is going through, what they're feeling, and you just want to keep calm. No mass hysteria. It's just evaluating the patient and going from there.
Seminars will also be taking place in New Providence and Abaco. Megan Shepard, ZNS Network News.
Well, the rising number of persons suffering from some health-related ailments has been described as alarming. Hence, those who are mandated to treat and care for such victims are calling for greater compassion from family members and the wider community. John Davis Roll reports.
When it comes to persons suffering from various illnesses and disease, those in the healthcare sector are striving to change the stigma attached to such individuals. Hence, more public forums are being held to bring greater focus to this concern and to change the mindsets of persons in our community. According to Dr. Dawn Gallagher, their efforts to renew the minds of persons has been challenging, to say the least.
So that they realize that these people are not the diagnosis that they have. They are people who just happen to have a particular diagnosis. It could have been diabetes or hypertension. We don't choose. We just kind of take what we get and try to make the most of it.
What are some of the telltale signs when you see this happening that persons should be aware of?
Usually, people will notice that someone is just not being themselves. Either their mood is different, they're not able to express themselves the way they usually did, or the behavior may be just erratic or bizarre or abnormal from, what you used to seeing from that particular person. Now, we have some special personalities out there, but not everybody who does something a little strange means that, that person is schizophrenic or has a mental illness.
Those in the health-related sector believe that education is the key, and an informed community is an empowered community. Hospital social worker Clarence Hill says the starting point must be the family.
The presentation I'm going to be doing is labeled but loved. And that's a key component in the recovery of any mentally ill patient. It's all about family support, family collaborating with the patient and the mental health team to get to have the patient perform at an optimum level.
Hill says while significant strides have been made, they believe that more must be done.
One of the things is for the family themselves to accept that they have a loved one who has a mental illness, because sometimes that can be one of the biggest barriers. The patient sometimes may not accept their illness, and if the family is not accepting it, how can they get help? So acceptance is a big key.
Joan Davis-Roll, ZNS Network News.
Well, students at Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy coming to the aid of fellow students hit by fire. This past weekend, the Alpha Omega School was vandalized and badly damaged by fire. Today, Tabernacle's Interact students decided to lend a helping hand by donating school supplies to the students. Tabernacle Vice Principal and Advisor for the Interact Club, Darville, says it is all in keeping with the motto, "It takes a village to raise a child."
This is an opportunity for Tabernacle Baptist Christian Academy to extend its arm through the Interact Club to the persons in the community. And when we saw this tragedy on the news on Monday night, these supplies being available, we saw it fitting for us to take the students of our school and be able to reach other students here in Grand Bahama. And it just happens to be another private school, a school that continues to make its positive impact in the community.
It wasn't a good feeling for us, so it obviously won't be a good feeling for them. But with the help of the Interact Club, we just want to encourage them to know that the society, community cares about them, and we just want to give a little token to encourage them.
Principal Norris Bain added that he's proud of the initiative undertaken by the students because they were once victims too. He hopes other schools would do the same.
I'm happy about it. It's a biblical principle. You give, and it shall be given unto you. I believe the Lord allows us to come into possession so that we not to hoard it, not to put it in the can and sit on the can, but to share it with other people. And that's good. It's a good lesson for them in their teenage years, and as well as when they become young adults. And when they become adults, when they become parents, they will also pass it on to their children, because that's what education is all about, being able to pass on what you have on to other people.
I am very excited. I'm grateful for such a lovely presentation, which is really needed by our school. Thank you so much.
Now, Alpha and Omega are still appealing to members of the public, especially past students, to assist with donations to the students and to the repairs of the school. Stay with us. Ricardo Lightborn has a check on sports when we come back.
Everybody, it's Sports Time. I'm Ricardo Lightborn. Let's get cooking right away. The second annual Battle of the Bahamas is this coming Saturday at the St. George's Gymnasium. Baisong Four Wings is ready to perform. The Baisong Institute Four Wings of Kung Fu is preparing for the weekend competition. The Battle of the Bahamas is Saturday, October 25th at the St. George's Gymnasium. Sifu Ken Lewis is the chief instructor and preparing his students for a big weekend, which is also inclusive of the Jaguar Jiu-Jitsu School and the Chanchido. Forms, fighting, seminars is the focus of the tournament. Also taking the tournament is Supreme Grandmaster George Ng.
And this is the first year that we have invited our Grandmaster to honor him and also for him to take a look at our schools and see how we can improve and just do better.
There are 24 schools of the four wings of Kung Fu, and this weekend history will be made on Grand Bahama and indeed the Bahamas. Grandmaster Ng says there's going to be a new direction of Kung Fu, and it's a concept in Kung Fu. Grand Bahama Bai Song is leading the way in total development.
Not just in Bahama, the first time ever introduced Kung Fu philosophy, incorporated truly as a unit in Kung Fu, art of Kung Fu martial art in the world. First time we bring it to Bahama. So that means from now on, we're going to, beside fighting art, we talk about the philosophy, we talk about the discipline, and love, compassion, and community service.
Sifu Lewis says the seminar is planned for Thursday and it's open to everyone, young and not so young.
On Thursday, Grandmaster is going to teach a seminar open to the entire community of Grand Bahama. He's going to teach a seminar on just what he spoke about, the discipline and the philosophy of Kung Fu, and Kung Fu as a way of life, what the Chinese call the Tao, how you find your way and develop a philosophy of life.
And a seminar set for 8 o'clock tomorrow night will be at the St. Paul's Methodist Church. The Domino's Pizza Coca-Cola Power A Tip-Off Basketball Classic started yesterday at the Jack Haywood High School Gymnasium. Let me tell you, the Classic actually started off with the opening ceremonies, and a good one at that. Let me tell you, Chief Inspector of Police Roston Moss represented Assistant Commissioner of Police Embrick Seymour and gave the opening charge to the student athletes.
It is my hope that they just continue to participate at a higher level, take heed to the message, use the exercise from the game, and of course my message, and I'm hoping to see a better student in the near future.
President of the Grand Bahama Secondary School Athletic Association, Kenton Roll, says that this one is very, very important and a great basketball tournament and lots of stuff to be won.
It's really our preseason tournament, but because the fact that we play for ranks, it's one of the most important tournaments that we play. This year we have the majority of high schools competing. With the exception of LIS, you have St. George's, Sunline, 8 Mile Rock. I think the three top teams you look for are St. George's, Tabernacle, Sunline. I hope I don't forget anybody else. I think Jockey will be a little sneaker too. Most coaches are looking to see exactly where they are and looking in terms of development, what they need to work on. I think we'll have 1 or 2 coaches coming in from the U.S. also. So we look for, every time the kids come out and play, it's an opportunity, And I know the boys are looking forward to playing this tournament. Everybody's looking forward to the rings.
Everybody wants the ring. They started play last night and they played tonight. We'll give you some highlights and a whole lot more for you tomorrow.